Hello everyone, my name is Théo Ardoin and I'm going to present you the work that I've done during my last internship with Cédric Sueur on the use of the deep learning for automated behavioral analysis in Japanese macaques. First, a quick introduction to our model, Japanese macaques. This is actually an historical model in primatology. This is the first ever studied primate, which means that we have lots of longitudinal data on these species, which allow us to better understand their behavior. As you can see on the right of the screen, those are medium-sized primates. Their body length is around 50 centimeters for around 10 kilos. And they live in multi-male, multi-female troops with complex social organization, including matrilinear hierarchies and migrating males. Also, very interestingly, this is the first ever non-human species in which we have demonstrated the cultural transmission of a behavior. This species is, as you can see on the left, present all throughout the island, except for very urban areas, which means that they locally adapted their behavior to their environment because they live in different ecological niches. And because they have a high tendency for social learning, we are very interested in the transmission of those behaviors to the neighboring groups. One of the behaviors that we are interested in is stone handling, which is a pretty self-explanatory term. As you can see on the right, it refers to the handling or manipulation of stones. It is a form of playing / self-distraction. It is generally practiced alone, and the term stone handling refers to more than 40 patterns that have been sorted in 5 different categories, such as investigative, percussive, locomotion related, etc. And why are we interested in this behavior? Well, because it is hypothesized that the daily use of stones as playing objects may lead in the future to the use of these stones as a tool, as it is already seen in their close parents. And witnessing the actual transition of a species that to a species that do use stone as a tool does have a lot of interest from an anthropological standpoint. Also, this behavior is culturally transmitted, which means that it respects different criteria that I'm going to walk you through. The first one being that there is interpopulation variation in the stone handling behavior. As you can see, this behavior is not present on the whole island, but only in 10 sites. And in between those sites, the stone handling patterns that are observed are different, which means first that this is not innate behavior. It is different in between populations. Also, it is consistent in a group. It does not disappear. It is generally spread in every individual in a group. It is socially learned. In the case of stone handling in Japanese macaques, it is socially learned through observation of other stone handlers. And it is transmitted to next generations, which is, again, a very important criteria when talking about cultural transmission. How does that transmission to next generation works? Well, let's take a simple example with 2 mothers, one of which is a stone handler, and each of them has an offspring, has an infant. Well, we have studied for decades how this behavior is transmitted, and we have witnessed that those individuals, the ones that do not have a stone handler mother, do also pick up stone handling. And it has been observed that they will observe other adults or either other individuals that do practice stone handling, which means that, other infants that will practice stone handling, which means that stone handling is spreading more and more from a generation to another. Also, more about the social transmission of this behavior is that I've told you earlier that there are migrating males in Japanese macaques. And those males, when they migrate, let's say that this one comes from the green group, which has a percussive repertoire, it will bring with him sort of his cultural habits of stone handling, which means that when he will stay some time in this group, eventually this group will acquire percussive behaviors because of observing this individual. That means that the stone handling repertoire of Japanese macaques troop is dynamic. And I've only shown you the example of 2 interacting groups, but it can range to dozens of groups interacting with each other, which means that the social, the stone handling repertoire is very, very dynamic and it is difficult to monitor the changes in real time of this repertoire. Also, stone handling can be sometimes difficult to identify because there are sometimes fine variations between 2 patterns, which means that there may be an inter-observer bias at a high scale, which is an incentive for us to automatize the process of studying stone handling in Japanese macaques. Talking about behavior that involve the fine motor hand skills, fine hand gestures, we are also interested in grooming, which is an affiliative behavior. As you can see, it can refer to at least 2 individuals interacting with a behavior such as picking or stroking, which helps removing parasites from an individual's fur. But it also has a function of soliciting intercourse from a sexual partner. Generally, males will groom females in a way to obtain sexual intercourse. But it also is used to maintain social relationships. It is often observed that individuals will groom more the higher ranking individuals to keep their place in the hierarchy. And male will rarely, but will sometimes groom other males in order to build tolerance in contexts where the competition for food is exceptionally high. It avoids them killing each other in context of food competition. But why are we interested in this behavior? Well, because like other affiliative behavior, it is a proxy for the study of social networks within a group. The more you groom an individual, the more an individual is groomed, the more important it is in this social network. Also, we are still studying the effects of the environment on this behavior, and we are investigating the cultural dimension of this behavior. It has been shown that there are cultural dimensions to grooming in chimpanzees, but not yet in Japanese macaques. Why is it challenging to study this behavior? Well, in Japanese macaques, troop size can range over more than 100 individuals, which makes observational study on the field very difficult because you have to identify every of those individuals, and grooming can happen simultaneously in multiple individuals, and it can become very hard to follow. So and it needs obviously we need a lot of people on field, and it needs a lot of training to be able to recognize every individual. So in the end, it becomes very costly, especially if you are interested in doing longitudinal study and see how social networks evolve inside a group, So we lose some dynamic information because of that, because of how costly it can become. And it is, of course, still subject to inter-observer bias, especially concerning the identity recognition. So, up till now, how did we study wild primates' behavior? Well, as other ethologists do, I guess, we went on the field and live code with sheets of paper or now more advanced solutions, such as apps on the phone that helps to gather our observations. But more recently, people have started placing cameras on the field, which will record hours and hours of behavior. But the thing is, then you have to come back to your office and video code hours of video. And video coding, sorry for the term, but coding a video can take up to multiple times the length of the said video. And it can be extremely long, especially if you are interested in complex behaviors. And it generally ends up being laborious work that is given to the interns. So some people have tried to develop solutions for that. For example, people have tried to apply deep lab cut to the study of chimpanzee behavior. This is the case for Wiltshire, which has published in a Journal of Animal Ecology recently. And they provided an excellent post-estimation algorithm, though it has to be mentioned that the training is very long. This is extracted from the paper. They say that it can take up an average to 2 hours per video to manually generate training data for the algorithm, which is extremely long. And, moreover, they have not been able to produce automatic analysis of the chimpanzee behavior yet, even though they have been working on this for 4 to 5 years, to my knowledge now. So this underlines how difficult deep lab cut is to apply on primate behavior. Other people have tried to come up with different solutions while not doing pose estimation, but simply tracking using bounding boxes, as you can see here. The thing is, so this is work from Richard Ferg from the University of Göttingen. His work provides excellent tracking of the individuals and also comes with identity recognition, and the generating training data is very quick because labeling pictures with bounding boxes is very easy to do. But it has not been able to to show reliable behavioral analysis yet. And from what I've seen doing literature review and talking with my peers, the use of bounding boxes, so this format, greatly limits the analysis of social interactions. And this is pretty intuitive because the AI do not know the precise limits in between those two individuals' body. Thus, studying those interactions in between those two individuals becomes increasingly difficult for the AI. Other people, here my colleagues in Paulette et al., I've tried to use AI to automatically build the social network of a group. This is the case in Japanese macaques. The thing is, this AI uses co-occurrence matrices, which means that if two individuals spend a lot of time together, the AI interprets it in like affiliative behavior. The thing is, if you are on the same picture with another individual, that does not mean that you are having affiliative behavior. This is the case here, a mother with her infants. This is not the case, though it will also be labeled by the AI as affiliative behavior. This raises concerns, and this is an incentive for us to start working on solutions that will help analyze the Japanese macaques' behavior and integrate it to our analysis of their social networks. So, we decided to use LabGym as a way to automatize the behavioral analysis of Japanese macaques. And in order to do that, we first, my supervisor went on the field to do some data collection in Shodoshima and Arashiyama monkey parks, which are places where there are a lot of individuals and they are used to being close to humans, so they are easy to film, which helped us to produce more training data with different backgrounds, different angle, and individuals filmed at different distances. Then we had to go into the process of labeling those pictures, and because Japanese macaques are visually complex, labeling a few pictures is easy, but when you want to produce as much training data as you you have to come up with a better idea. And what I've done is to design a citizen science approach where I proposed people to come and help me to label those macaques on the pictures. And actually 33 people join us, and daily for 3 weeks I attributed people pictures which they labeled, and I was the one doing the reviewing process or quality control before adding those pictures, those labeled pictures obviously, to my final dataset. As you can see, it only took 3 weeks, because in only 3 weeks those people managed to make me run out of raw data, because they managed to label almost 4,000 pictures, which represent around 8,500 macaques. So that was great. This is a lot of training data. Nevertheless, I still decided to augment my training dataset by using a RoboFlow augmentation process, which I guess will have been explaining before. And yeah, it allowed me to have a huge training dataset and train a rather accurate detector, which helped me to go to the next step, which is generate behavior examples for me to train my categorizer. So I decided to go with 30 frames animation, because they are long enough to be representative of stone handling behaviors that I'm interested in at some point. And I chose to pick the interactive advanced format, which allowed me to give roles, well, to study the different roles of the individuals involved in grooming, which was necessary for me and the behaviors that I was interested in. So I decided to give example of grooming, being groomed, self-grooming. Self-grooming is actually very important, because when an individual groom themselves to remove parasites, we did not want it to be interpreted as grooming or being groomed. So I believe it helps a lot the accuracy of our categorizer. And I also interested myself in the stone handling behaviors that I had the most training data on, which was rub on the ground and rub in hands, meaning the stone, obviously. So, concerning our results, the detector's accuracy using segmentation, meaning the body outline, is around 91.7% using the F1 score, which is pretty promising and pretty satisfying for now. It has allowed us to have pretty much accurate behavior classification, so I think it could be improved, but it is still a very good start. About the preliminary results that we have on the classifying of grooming behaviors, as you can see, this is work that I've done with Yubja and Yujahu, sorry, which is also available in a preprint for now. So we reach very satisfying level of accuracy concerning the being groomed and grooming behaviors. As you can see, self-grooming on the other side is not perfect yet. It still needs refinement, but it's on a good start. Let's say it's a good work in progress. Concerning the accuracy of the stone handling behaviors, well, my most polyvalent categorizer is not yet able to accurately classify stone handling behaviors, apart from rub on the ground, which is still a work in progress, as you can see. Yet I'm in the process of turning another more specialized categorizer that focus only on on a few stone handling behaviors, which are these 4. As you can see, results extracted from videos are pretty promising, but I would not be able to give accuracy score for now. So this is still a work in progress, of course. So to conclude, we have promising preliminary results, and they still have it has to be reminded that those are only preliminary results. We have reached an accurate body detection using the detector, especially at close range. We have observed that there is a strong correlation between the training data, and the accuracy that we have, which is true for the detector and the classifier, the categorizer, sorry. And we have reached an efficient analysis of some behaviors, and which are especially the grooming-related behaviors. Concerning our perspectives and how to improve, well, obviously we would like to go back to the field to collect more data, especially at long range. Give it more time, this is obvious, but I would like to mention the fact that LabGym is able to doing multi-class detection, and I believe that we could use this feature to have a better classifying of the stone handling behaviors, for example. So as you can see, this is a side project that I have. This is a small detector, not a finished one, but you can see that it's still able to detect the stones even when they are close of the macaque's hand. Also, this multi-class detection could be used in other contexts, such as two species interacting with each other, such as the macaques and the sika deer. This is a behavior that is rarely observed, and thus having camera traps filming constantly and having an AI being able to detect those interactions will save up a lot of time for us, and actually maybe enable us to understand better what are the processes and conditions that trigger this behavior, because this is still something, an interesting application for LabGym, I think, to try. Also, we would like to design and integrate a Python pipeline that would integrate the behavioral analysis of Japanese macaques to the automated face recognition and social network building AI that we already have. This will actually be the work of my colleague Julien Paulet, that is starting his PhD in a month now. So you will probably hear about that in the next years. And we would like to use, and once we will have an efficient enough AI, we would like to use it and to apply it on other studies and other that are conducted in different primate species, on the use of tool and stone tool, especially in different primate species. So that I would like to thank obviously our collaborators, so Cédric, Sueur, my project supervisor, but also obviously Dr. Bingye and Dr. Yu Jahu, whom I have interacted a lot with and were of great help all along this project. So thanks a lot to you three, and thanks for your attention. I should be live on the Zoom right now to read and answer your question. And if you want to know more, well, you can always reach out to us using ResearchGate, X, or our mail address. Thanks a lot.